So beef, episode 4. So if you remember, I had a problem with episode 3. Episode 3, one of my biggest problems was George. George, he became dislikable. In episode 3, he became dislikable. He became childish and petty. And so in this particular episode, we get to see very little of him, and I'm glad they did. I'm glad that they were able to actually, put him aside. Now, this episode for me feels like, and it was directed by the same director who directed episode 1. So there's a clear vision in this particular episode, and it connects us to episode 1 in terms of what they were going for and what they established. Cars in this particular show, those two cars, the red truck and the white SUV, are very important with this particular show, and we didn't get that in episode 3. So there's a lot of things that happen in that white SUV. Not a lot, just a little, but a very important part of the story. And there's also one of the most important plot points is Paul getting to Las Vegas, and he has to do it using the truck. So the cars are brought back into this particular show. They are brought back in this particular episode. Now, what was the story? The story was pretty basic. Amy was going to Las Vegas to make a presentation. June, the daughter, refused to leave. So George had to stay back and stay with June while Amy goes to Las Vegas, meet Jordana, do the deal, maybe do a presentation. Now, Paul, on the other hand, wants to go to Las Vegas to hang out with who? Hang out with Amy. In order for him to get there, what does he have to do? He has to use the truck. In order to get the truck, he gets Danny and Isaac drunk, steals the truck, goes to Las Vegas. And now, in order for Danny to actually work, to do anything, when he wakes up with the hangover drunk, he realizes that Paul took the truck, but now he cannot do anything without the truck because he's a contractor. He needs the truck. So he too has to go to Las Vegas to get the truck. So you get the truck plays a very big role in this particular episode. So this particular episode is about it's Amy, Paul, Danny, Isaac, Las Vegas. So it's basically about them and what happens there. And so many things happen there. We get to learn more about Isaac, and I'm glad that they did this. I must give props to the producers of this show. It was so easy to make Isaac the black best friend. Why? He's cool, laid back. He doesn't have any. He's one of those laid back, go with the flow kind of people. He also has a lot of pop culture references. He talks about X-Men, he talks about Aladdin, he talks about Robin Hood. He's just cool. And it would have been easy if this was just another random show on Netflix or HBO. They would have made him a black best friend. But this time they just decided to maintain him as an Asian character, which is kind of cool, according to just what I thought. Now, we get to see more of Paul and Amy's relationship. They get to actually hang out in a contained room. Now, luckily they were able to subvert my expectation. They did something that I thought would happen, but they didn't take it that far. And I like that because now they slowed it down. As I said, in episode 3, that relationship moved very fast. That everything escalated too quickly between these two. Now, for this particular episode, you can see them actually acknowledging that whatever happened in episode 3 happened, but they slow everything down. And I'm glad they did that because now we get to actually learn more about these characters. They have quiet moments, and by quiet moment, I don't mean that nothing's not moving. I mean things are moving, things are happening, but they have their slow moment. We get to know who they are. We get to see them interact in a much more quieter space, and I wouldn't call it safe space, but a space that is not held back by expectations and reality, because they actually do something. Paul introduces something that makes everyone just mellow out. So yeah, that was pretty interesting. Something else that I saw that was very interesting about this episode is that how they were able to, they've not lost their characters. By that I mean that I believe the showrunners had a very good character bible, in that there's a very funny staircase chase. Paul takes the lift, and Isaac and Danny have to take the stairs. And so you get a very interesting understanding of these characters, because in episode 2 we saw Danny working out. So when it comes to the stairs, if they are going up the stairs with Isaac, who has established himself as a laid back cool guy, who would be able to climb the stairs and who will not be able to climb the stairs? So it's Isaac who is not able to climb the stairs. Actually, he's puking everywhere, and you understand, because this is what they said about the episode this is what they said about the character in episode 2. So when things happen in episode 3, they make sense, and that also gives it an authentic, realistic take on this particular world. The fact that going up the stairs is not an easy thing. So yeah, apart from that, now something else happens that brings back the beef between these two, and it reminds us that this show is about the beef between Amy and Danny. Amy, as her situation in terms of work has escalated, so now she finds herself in a panel doing a presentation talking about her business in front of other business people. And so as Danny is walking, it's a casino, so as they're walking with Isaac in the background, he spots her, and immediately after spotting her, he has to go in and ask a very stupid question, which leads to the end of the episode. I don't want to spoil it for people, but now that brings back the beef. That brings back the energy and the drive of these two people. That brings the rage between these two characters, which brought us into this particular series. So during that event, also you remember Naomi. Naomi is Amy's friend, but she is the family friend. Family in terms of, when you get a family, you get new friends who have families too, and so you have a friendship based on the fact that all of you have families. So, and then there's Jordana. I would call Jordana the professional family friend. I'd call Naomi the family friend, because now it's friendship within the families. So she, after the confrontation between Amy and Ahid and Danny, she looks at the phone and looks at the cars, and she realizes that there's a white SUV, and now she starts suspecting that Amy might have been a part of that road rage viral clip. And so that, I think, will go into episode 5, and things may start to get a bit interesting. But generally, this was a much more way better episode than episode 3. The other thing that I also liked, and I don't know if you noticed it, was just how the scenes were directed, because it seems like nothing was at a standstill in each scene. Things were always moving. If they were not moving, someone was doing something while they were talking. So there was also always a motion in each and every scene. If it's the drinking scene, preparing the bottles, drinking, doing something else, there was always something moving within a scene. Now, when you add that with the kind of pacing that this director was going for, because this is the same director who directed the first episode, and his pacing is very punchy and very fast. So if you blend the two, what you get is an episode that feels very short, because everything feels like it's moving, everything moves very fast. And that's apart from two establishing shots of LA. Every other thing, there's always something moving, there's always something happening. And so yeah, this for me was a very good episode. It was a very funny episode, because the humor actually comes out in this particular episode. There's some dark humor within this. There's some funny things that are said by Isaac, because at some point we get to learn about the relationship between Paul and Danny while they were growing up, what it meant for Paul and what it meant for Danny, and Isaac's interpretation of the whole thing. So it's kind of funny, but when you actually think about it, there is a certain sense of darkness about it, because Danny actually cares about Paul, but Paul is this teenager who's growing up, so he has a sense of he is better than, he's better than Paul, he's better than Danny. So you get this idea that you get a different take on these two characters, because their relationship is a weird relationship. It's a teenager and a grown-up trying to coexist. But then you have this person who thinks that this teenager used to look up to him, but then Isaac is like, no, he never used to look up to you. He had this other perception of who you are. Go back and try to remember what he meant by that. So you get to learn more about them. And you also get to learn more about Isaac, because Isaac got his screen time in this particular episode. You get to learn more about him. As I said, he's a very cool guy, laid back, very funny, a lot of pop culture references. And generally is the person that I was looking forward to see him on screen. Not that the other characters were boring, but I just loved his vibe, and he helped scenes move very, very fast. So yeah, apart from episode 1, this is my second favorite episode. It's the pacing, same director, but it's the pacing for me, and the shooting, and just how the characters feel realistic, how they engage in a realistic way, how they react in a realistic way. So that's my review of episode 4. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you on episode 5. Subscribe, of course. That's how it works. You have to. Anyway, I'll see you on episode 5.